Because you're giving people two choices when there's in fact a third choice. You either choose party A, the conservatives, or party B, the liberals, or whatever, the Democrats and the Republicans, or choose whatever party fits in your scenario. So you're given a choice between party A and party B, and say that, well, the lesser of two evils is to choose, for example, party A because they are not going to kill as many Muslims, or they promised us XYZ. But in reality, you have a third choice, and the analysis, even if you were to reject and say, okay, well, remain, not voting, which is the third choice, it's something that will lead to also harm. Well, the reality is that at least include it in the scenario that you can vote for party A, vote for party B, or not vote. So to abstain from voting. It's a valid option. So why is it ignored? Now, what's interesting about this one, this third choice is actually the least of the evils, because think about when Bill Clinton was elected. He was elected on what basis? That he was a cool guy. He played the saxophone. He was a charismatic personality. People saw him as a person who's not a warmonger. And what happened during his rule?
We have heard that 500,000 children have died. I mean, that's more children than died in Hiroshima. And is the price worth it?
I think this is a very hard choice, but we think the price is worth it.
500,000 children died under the sanctions of Iraq, under the rule of Bill Clinton. And how was Bill Clinton perceived when they were voting for him? They looked at him as the lesser of two evils. Fine. Now when Bush came and was running for elections, who was he up against? He was against Gore. The problem was, and I remember, there was a website called Muslims for Bush, and I was talking to Muslims in the West, and I was talking to Muslims around the world, and I was telling them that we cannot vote for a kafir to implement kufr. There's no good in it. There can be no good in it. There's no good in committing haram. But they wouldn't listen to me, and they wouldn't listen to all the brothers around the world who were telling them that it's haram. Now the thing was that these people were very, very dedicated to Bush and to his election campaign. Why? Because Gore's vice president was his name is Lieberman. He was very strong in his support for the Zionists in Israel. So what did they say? They said, well, because look at Bush. He's a dedicated Christian. He's a practicing Christian. And the Quran, Allah Azza wa Jalla tells us that you will find that the Christians are closest to the believers in kindness and affection and so on. And so therefore we should vote for the person who is the lesser of two evils in the situation. What happened? Bush got elected, and he turned out to be one of the most vicious criminals that has ever taken power in the American government. Fine, almost a decade passes, and in comes Obama. So now Obama comes in, and he's looked at as the savior of peace and the man who's going to bring peace to the world. Look what happens to him. He is the worst of all recent presidents. He is one of the worst criminals. He has achieved more during his presidency than any other president could have ever dreamed to achieve. During his presidency, they've passed a law that allows the government to arrest people just on suspicion and keep them indefinitely, so they can put you in jail for the rest of your life without a trial, without any charges. Go look up what happened with the Occupy movement. If you haven't heard much about it, go read up, or if you have heard nothing about it, really go read up on the Occupy Wall Street movement. The American people rose up, just like in the uprisings in the Muslim world, like in the uprising in the Ukraine. The people of the United States of America rose up. They had their own uprising, and it was called the Occupy movement. What happened to them? They were crushed. They were crushed exactly like Bashar tried to crush the uprising in Syria. A large number of people in the US rose up to protest the economic injustice of the government and their loyalty towards the mega corporations. What did they do? Go look at the videos of the police brutality. They're teenage girls who had their heads beaten with baton sticks. They were just standing there, just either chanting or whatever. The government came up with these trumped up charges that the protest was unauthorized, they didn't get permission for it, and therefore and again, I don't know if you saw, there's that one police officer who was spraying pepper spray in the face of students who were just sitting on university grounds protesting. Police would, again, they would just beat women. They would just grab people and arrest them with no charges.